Hello everybody and welcome to TYT Community. Today we've got a great bunch of stories today. In the first segment we're going to cover the Arkansas oil spill and the media being kicked out of covering the oil spill. But first, before I get to that, I want to introduce my panel. Today I have with me my talented co-host, Rhiannon Avaneen.
Good evening.
We have our libertarian correspondent, Sean Fitzgerald.
Hi.
And we have our Canadian correspondent from, what do you say, Ontario?
Toronto works fine.
From Toronto, sorry.
Which is Ontario.
Close enough. All right, so I want to start out today, like I said, with a story about ExxonMobil. On the 29th of March, ExxonMobil's Pegasus pipeline burst near the town of Mayflower, Arkansas, causing 22 homes to be evacuated. It's estimated that over 10,000 barrels of tar sands oil, known as dilbit, standing for diluted bitumen, was spilled into the streets of that small Arkansas town when the pipeline burst. According to a 1880 law, diluted bitumen is not classified as oil, so ExxonMobil does not have to pay for the oil spillage cleanup fund. Oil Change International had said about this, quote, "The great irony of this tragic spill in Arkansas is that the transport of tar sands oil through the pipelines in the U.S. is exempt from payments into the Oil Spill Liability Trust Fund. Exxon, like all companies shipping toxic tar sands, doesn't have to pay into the fund that will cover most of the cleanup costs for the pipeline's inevitable spills." However, ExxonMobil officials state that Exxon is, quote, "paying all valid claims relating to the spill and providing interim housing for people from the homes which the city of Mayflower recommended be evacuated from following Friday's spill." ExxonMobil also got onto the Twitter by saying, "ExxonMobil will pay for cleanup costs in Mayflower, Arkansas. Allegations to the contrary are not true." To which Greenpeace had replied, "So does ExxonMobil support closing the loophole exempting tar sands from the Oil Spill Liability Trust Fund?" And also, Polluter Watch had also tweeted, "ExxonMobil, you didn't answer the question. Will you help close loophole that exempts tar sands pipelines from paying oil spill fund? Hashtag no KLX." In response to that, ExxonMobil had tweeted, "That is a red herring. ExxonMobil is paying for the cleanup." Now, it's important to note that the Pegasus oil pipeline was built back in the 1940s. And most of our oil pipeline are of a similar age or even older. These pipelines were not designed to carry tar sands at the pressures that they are at. And according to a 2011 report by the U.S. Department of Transportation, over 50% of the nation's pipelines were constructed in the 1950s and 60s during the creation of the interstate pipeline network, built in response to the huge demand for energy in a thriving post-World War II economy. Now we get to the media. In a Mother Jones article by Kate Shepard, it highlights how reporters are being threatened with arrest for trying to document the oil spill in Mayflower, Arkansas. A reporter named Lisa Song was also told that she would be arrested for criminal trespass. And a news director from a local NPR affiliate in the area was threatened with arrest for also trying to cover the spill. So they're kicking out reporters. On last Wednesday, Arkansas State Attorney General Dustin McDaniel went to inspect the area and hold a news press conference. McDaniel was accompanied by a small group of reporters, including Michael Hiblin from a local radio station, KUAR. When they arrived to the site, representatives from the local sheriff's office directed the reporters to a site about 10 feet away. Soon after, according to Hiblin, they were told that ExxonMobil has decided they didn't want you there. You have to leave. You have 10 seconds to leave or you will be arrested, the sheriffs reportedly told the reporters. Such treatment to the media by the oil giant begs the question of who is in charge and what happened to the right of the press, protected in the First Amendment. Using public assets such as the local sheriff's office to keep the press out of areas is another example of corporations using taxpayer-funded organizations, like the police, to keep the media from covering stories that can damage corporate public relations. So now I want to go out and throw a couple of questions out to the panel about the treatment of the media by ExxonMobil, as well as the damage of the oil spill itself, and if this will affect public opinion when it comes to building the Keystone XL pipeline. So I just want to throw it out there. Go ahead, guys. What do you guys think?
This drill, baby, drill. This should bring up some huge alarms in various different places, like amongst environmental activists and First Amendment activists. Also, this is a hodgepodge of problems that are happening with this issue. I mean, if I'm not, there was something I read somewhere about this where they even referred to the Exxon people who wanted them, the journalists gone, or the sheriffs were saying something about it was Exxon Media that was controlling and I mean Exxon Media is what they called it. So who's running the show? I mean, what are the journalists are now take second seat to corporate media departments?
Now that's an incredibly good question. I love how you asked that. Who is in charge? When the media is not allowed to report on a story, that brings up huge ramifications for the First Amendment. Now, Sean, I want to get your input on this.
Well, I mean, there's like a whole bunch of issues here. Now, one of the things that you brought up in the video is that it was running through an old pipeline. Now, if I was ExxonMobil, I would say, well, yeah, it kind of ran through an old pipeline because we want to build this new pipeline that didn't get approved. So, like, they could spin it that way. But as far as the media covering the story is, yeah, they should be allowed to cover it. But ExxonMobil, I don't know if they own the property or they're trying to use some kind of end around to kick them off. But it's just bad PR. And if I was a journalist or the politician kicked off there, I would have definitely got arrested because that makes it a bigger story. Like, once the story gets bigger, Exxon's going to look worse because of this.
Well, they didn't have any legal right to push anyone off the property. They didn't own the property. This was a suburban area with houses and neighborhoods and also woodlands. There was literally a river of oil flowing through the entire town.
Right. I mean, so that makes it different. Like I said, if they own the property, it would be more okay, or it would be more legal. But like, if they don't own the property, then what kind of media and what kind of police are going to comply with their like made up orders? So, like, ExxonMobil is obviously the bad guy in this, and it's one of those issues where they get to be the chosen few. The special oil that they transport is exempt from all the regulations that other companies have to deal with. For instance, we used to have laws that said if you spilled milk on your property, then you needed modern oil, oil spill equipment because of the oil in the milk. But you're spilling tar sands oil, which is harder to clean, and you don't have to do anything for it. You just decide which ones you're going to pay, which damages you're going to pay for, and which you're not.
And most of the damages, they're not going to have to pay for it. It's going to be the American taxpayer. Like I had mentioned, that 1980 law had said that if you do spill regular oil, that you have to pay to clean it up. But this isn't classified as regular oil. So they get around this little loophole that says, well, yeah, we're going to pay for some of the damage, basically to some people's homes, but overall, we're going to go to the taxpayer to clean this up. And I think that's just really just a terrible situation for people in Arkansas. If I were in that town, I would move away.
And
Well, it's just another example about how big industries and corporations manage to wiggle their way out of being held responsible for any laws. They're above the law. It's just another example about how they're above the law is what I'm trying to say. Because, at what point reasonably does whatever substance it is, does the destruction of the environment become a criminal action? If you or I were to chop down the wrong tree in the wrong place, we could get arrested and fined for that. But they're not being held responsible for a massive, toxic crude oil spill.
And,
Not
here's
only
another interesting thing. I mean, you got all the conservatives who aren't really saying much about it at all. They don't seem up in arms. Yet, sorry about that. Yet, talk to them about Social Security and health benefits and universal health care. And they're like, why do I have to pay for my neighbor's health problems? I shouldn't have to pay for that. But here's an environmental disaster and just one of many, yet they don't say crap about tax money being spent to rectify the mistakes of these huge oil corporations.
it's not only that, low, they're damaging people's property. If you're any kind of self-respecting conservative, which I don't consider myself a conservative, you should respect the private property rights of people. And Exxon is their oil is destroying their property, and on a technicality, they're not going to have to pay for it. Like, you should be able to sue them and get your money, or the fund act should apply to them, that they kick into the oil spill fund. But what's going to actually end up happening is they're going to use that hole in the regulatory system or that regulation in court when people try and sue them, and they're probably going to win.
And not only are they above the law, as we had said, that they own the law. The fact that the sheriff's department in this town is enforcing the will of the corporation. Remember, they said, ExxonMobil doesn't want you here, so I'm going to do what ExxonMobil says and make you leave. And that's very, very disturbing. Very disturbing.
Yeah, and not to take it off topic, but unfortunately, cops are always for sale to the highest bidder or to whoever's going to make their position better. And
Well, look at what happened in New York with the Occupy movement.
The Occupy movement. I bring this up purely as you go to Clearwater, Florida, and whatever Scientology wants, the police do exactly what they say. They give a lot of money. So.
Well, hopefully this will at least catch more people's attention now, because it's right in front of your face. It's right in your backyard, so to speak, and for some of these people it actually was. I mean, can you imagine living in one of those houses and still being on the side of big corporations like ExxonMobil and being like, oh, they're not that bad. They're all right. But
I agree, but the only problem there is how many homes are we talking about? I mean, we're talking about an isolated area, and I understand what you're saying, Ree, but really,
the pictures are all over the internet. People are actually seeing this, and it should have caught people's attention during the Gulf oil spill, which Pensacola, Florida, and Gulf Breeze, they're still suffering from that oil spill, especially from tourism, the loss of tourism, the loss of revenue.
This is exactly my point, though, is the fact that Valdez happened, the platforms, people see this. These are all over the news, all over the media, all over the internet, but everybody looks and goes, and given this particular issue in Arkansas, people are going, well, I don't live there. I don't live near a pipeline. It must suck to be them, but it's not me, so I don't really, whatever happens, happens.
By the way, if you think you don't live near a pipeline, you need to check again. You definitely do.
Oh, no, that's very true. Most people don't realize how many of these pipelines are running right under their neighborhoods.
It's just that most people are ignorant. They're ignorant and apathetic. No. They don't know, and they don't care. And they don't know that they should care.
Actually, you bring up public opinion on this. I want to talk about a poll, some of the polling for the Keystone XL pipeline, which is, directly related because it's going to be the same type of pipeline that the Pegasus oil pipeline was, and according to the poll, there's 66% of people are in favor of it, and only 23% are opposed. Now that's an amazing stat. Over 2/3 of people in America.
It's because they think that it's going to bring down the price of gas, and they're selfish and greedy and apathetic, and
No, they've been lied to by the media, by all the ads from the oil companies that would be set to profit immensely from this. And in fact, here's what TransCanada had said: that the Keystone XL pipeline will create 500,000 permanent jobs. And a report released by the State Department actually corrected it and said, no, not 500,000 jobs, not 500,000 permanent jobs, but 35. 35
Wow.
jobs. That is a huge lie.
Well, I mean, this is like the weird place I feel that environmentalists should be in, and I know a lot of them are dead set against Keystone and all that, but this is an old pipeline that burst, right? Like you're not gonna stop the oil being pumped through those old pipelines. We should modernize our pipeline system, but it's like a weird place that if you're like an environmentalist, like
no, we shouldn't modernize our oil pipe system. We should eliminate our oil pipe system.
Those pipelines were not designed to carry tar sands.
That's my point, though. Is that
no, we don't need to modernize our oil pipe system. We need to eliminate our oil pipe system. The reality is cut all the bullshit out in front of your face. The reality is that the only reason we don't have solar power, wind power, and biofuel power powering everything that needs to be powered is greed. They work. It's greed. Solar power works. Wind power works.
Not wind power, definitely not.
Yes, it does.
There's a lot of issues surrounding both of those things.
And there are not issues surrounding oil and coal and natural gas and fracking that's destroying our environment. There's always going to be issues with something. There's always going to be issues with everything. Nothing is perfect. But wind power is enormously better. And we
don't have a way to just cut off oil. We can't just say, okay, no more oil, no more gasoline, no more fossil fuels. We have to make these transitions, and it won't be in our lifetime, but eventually maybe we will wean ourselves pretty much off fossil fuels for consumer uses. But fossil fuels are going to be around for a long time, so we do have to figure out ways to do it. That's why I can agree with that premise of upgrading pipelines, because this is part of the big problem up here in Canada. There's been a lot of hemming and hawing about the pipeline up here also. It's not a wonderful thing that people don't love it up here. It's happening though, but the pipelines that are going in, even though it's the new Trans-Canada pipeline, it's being built, it's already leaking in places. There are already problems with it.
Because they're actually connecting old ones. Like, it's not all new.
Exactly.
Even the old pipelines aren't that old.
No, most of them were built in the 1950s and 60s.
Like, they're
this
wearing
is a new
down.
Pipeline.
Which one? The one that broke?
Yeah. Well, not only that, but 50% of our pipelines are old.
I'm sorry. The one that burst in Arkansas, not the Keystone. That's an old one, right?
Yes, that was built in the 1940s, and it was not built to design. It was not designed to handle tar sands.
All right, I'm just gonna keep it real. You're gonna hear Exxon come out, and they're gonna make this point, and they're not gonna be 100% wrong. that they're going to say we need the new pipelines because they're safer. Once this thing blows up, that's going to be their second line of defense.
What we need is our government to subsidize other forms of energy besides oil and coal and natural gas. These things are destroying our environment. It's not okay. It needs to change before the end of our lifetime or we're fucked. Okay, I don't know why people keep pussyfooting around and saying we can't do this, we can't do that, we need a transition. Well, we haven't even gotten to the tip of the iceberg of the transition. And why? Because of greed, because of money and politics, because the oil companies, because of the lumber companies, because of the coal companies. They're not going to let that happen as long as money is in politics. But the reality of it is that if we don't change and stop now, that our environment is going to be irreversibly destroyed, and we're going to face massive famine, and we're going to be fighting over water and resources, and we're going to face a third world catastrophe. And we're going to find out at that point that we can't eat money and we can't drink oil.
Well, you lose me in the famine and the water, but
going to what
You'll
you
see.
said, Sean,
You'll see.
Going to what you said, Sean, though, you say you're going to call it, you're keeping it real. The problem is you're calling it after the fact in reality, because what you were saying is what Exxon was saying up here in Canada.
Right.
They were saying, oh, we're going to put in new pipeline and it's going to be safer and it's going to be this. Those problems are with the old pipelines.
But they're
so exactly what you were saying is what they were selling up here, and it's sold. And it is bullshit, because even the new pipeline, like you said, it's got a lot of components from old pipeline parts, and they're connecting to old pipeline. And there's already, I mean, you can go out there and see videos of the problems of the pipelines, the new pipelines that they've built, where it leaks in spots and it's breaking open, and they don't have the manpower to inspect the pipeline. And
Right, it's like the fracking and natural gas pipelines. They keep saying, oh, they're safe. Oh, they don't leak. Yes, they do, and they poison the water system.
Now, going back to the American politics part of this whole thing, is another selling point that they have was energy independence. Yeah, we get the tar sands oil from Canada, energy independence. Except that pipeline runs all the way through the United States, from Canada all the way to Texas, so it gets shipped off to the international oil market.
into Mexico.
The United States isn't. It's basically a middleman that's going to ship the oil through it, but not benefit from it at all, and all of the risk is being put on the American taxpayer for the environmental spills. Just like the 1980 law protects ExxonMobil from when there are spills, just like this, it's going to protect them also when the Keystone XL pipeline is built, and that's a big problem.
Well, here's the thing: energy independence is the stupidest talking point ever. Like, we could be 100% dependent, which we're pretty close, by the way, on Canadian, Mexican, and like we get most of our oil from the Northeast. We could be 100% dependent on like regional or domestic oil, but if they shut off the Straits of Hormuz, that's still going to affect the price. It's a global market. Like, energy independence is a meaningless. It's a political statement. It means nothing in reality.
Absolutely.
Well, and in the U.S., I may be off on the exact amount here, but I think the U.S. currently already has a 10-year stockpile of oil reserve.
It's called the strategic reserve.
Yeah, exactly. So this extra oil that's coming in now, talking about making you energy independent, is silly, because you right now, like, you have this reserve that's there. So anything more that's coming in, it's not like you're stockpiling more of it. It's selling it off and shipping it somewhere else.
But it's not 10 years for like the entire country. It's like 3 to 6 months for the country in a reserve. But it's not. It wouldn't. We don't have that much oil in the strategic oil reserve.
Well, the military is the largest user. The United States military is the largest user of oil in the entire world.
I thought they were behind us. Like it's the U.S. and then the U.S. military and then like 12 other countries.
No, I saw a report where it was the United States military, and they're actually trying to work with renewables now to cut that because of supply line issues. So I think that's. So I think that the United States military actually investing in renewable energy to make their operations more efficient. It's going to, and I hate using this term, but I think it's going to trickle down into civilian use because. Look at other technologies that have started out from military applications that are now civilian applications.
Right.
So
And but the thing,
to see.
but
Audio
there's an easier way to cut down their emissions that doesn't have to involve putting a solar panel on a tank. We just don't fill up the tanks and drive them over in third world countries for no reason. Like we could just cut all that nonsense out, and we would save a lot of money, and a lot of emissions and all that.
I'll vote for you, Sean, even though you are a libertarian.
All right. A couple more points that I actually want to touch on is how much ExxonMobil has made in profit and how much that they've paid in taxes. ExxonMobil in 2011 made $41.1 billion in profit the entire year, yet it paid a 13% effective tax rate. In 2010, it paid 17.6% of its income in taxes, and in 2009, ExxonMobil paid nothing in taxes, nada. And this is all while getting taxpayer subsidies. So those are amazing facts into how much Exxon has bought the government with all of that extra profit. They can buy our politicians, and they can use those politicians to further subsidies and deregulation, just like the 1980 law. And all that does is just go right into ExxonMobil's pockets. So with that, I want to transition over to final thoughts. Rhi, let's start with you. Let's get your final thoughts on this.
Oh, ExxonMobil is an evil corporation. But there are very few large corporations that are, in my eyes, not immoral and thus evil in my eyes. I don't understand why more people aren't disgusted. I do. It's just so frustrating to have so many people that are so oblivious to what's happening right in front of their face, that they can't see the severity of the situation, what it's leading up to. They can't seem to see the big picture with all of the collective environmental destruction that's happening, along with the things like oil spills due to their negligence and their faulty equipment. It's more than that. It's everything. It's the cutting down of trees. It's the emission of carbon. It's everything plays together and is going to destroy this planet, and we don't have another one. We don't get a second chance. If we don't stop being dependent on fossil fuels now, we will see absolute destruction of our planet, and it's going to leak over to us, and it's going to affect everybody. Eventually, no one's going to be able to ignore it because it's going to be affecting everybody, but by then, it'll probably be too late. We probably won't be able to reverse the effects. So I just beg anyone who's listening to pay attention and appreciate, try to understand what's happening around you, what's happening to our environment, and try to care. Try to realize that it does affect you, whether you realize it now or not, and it's affecting the air you breathe right now. And I mean, the rate of cancer has gone up, the rate of all sorts of degenerative diseases have gone up. Our quality of life and the quality of our planet is disintegrating, and we need to stop it because it's at critical mass at this point.
I actually look forward to seeing the effects of the Arkansas the Arkansas oil spill in cancer rates 10, 20 years from now. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a giant spike in the cancer rates, but Sean, let's get your final thoughts on this.
Well, I mean, like I try to point out before, I'm like with like I want to say 50% of the way, but I try sometimes I try and be more pragmatic than idealistic, and we're gonna have oil for a while, and they're gonna turn this around. Like, just expect Exxon to turn this around. They're gonna say we need to rebuild or renew our pipeline system, and our pipeline system is old. Like, it makes no sense that we have all these old pipelines pumping oil that they were never meant to meant to pump. So they're going to turn this around. ExxonMobil's obviously the bad guy in this one. I hope it blows up in their face, but BP turned around public opinion for the most part with those stupid, ridiculous ads. So expect Exxon to do the same thing. And Jeff, just remember, the cancer rates, it's the cleaner, not the oil, that is the real driver behind that. That's it.
All right. Brian, let's get your final thoughts, man.
Yeah, and I want to agree with that. Hey, Sean, I was going to mention that. Yeah, it's more the cleaners and that are at the root of the cancers and the illnesses and whatnot. Now, but in last thought, I mean, this whole thing this whole issue is a huge schlemazel, and there's a lot of issues to be dealt with here. We've been talking about this, and I don't mean we right here. I mean we as people have been dealing with this for quite some time. It's been going on for a while, these problems. But I do see that there is something in the future possibly for this. It's not going to be in our lifetime for anybody watching this right now, for anybody who's alive right now. This whole oil issue is going to go on for a long time. But if you look, things are progressing slowly. I mean, we are weaning ourselves, even in little bits and drabs, off the fossil fuels, whether it be by wind farms or solar farms or hybrid cars even. I mean, these things are all little steps. And eventually, the children and the grandchildren of the people being born today, I don't think that they're going to be facing the same problems that we are with these oil issues. The big concern is, and like Ree was saying, let's hope that we don't completely destroy everything before that time comes. And that's the big issue. We got to make sure that it's done in a proper manner so that there is something later on.
All right. And I want to close out with some of my final thoughts. I just thought you should know that while this is going on, ExxonMobil had actually won a something called a Green Cross for Safety medal from a nonprofit group. This medal was given to ExxonMobil for its leadership and comprehensive commitment to safety excellence, and it is from the NSC, the National Safety Council. This president and CEO said that it is evident that ExxonMobil is committed to excellence in safety, security, health, and environmental performance. But when it came to questions about this oil spill, neither the NSC or ExxonMobil had any comments. And so I just want to close out in saying that this is an absolute terrible situation. I feel for the families in Arkansas, and I hope that they can get back in their homes. But like I had said earlier, I think that it would be best if people would move away, and if ExxonMobil could actually do something and take ownership of the situation and actually pay what it is supposed to pay. And those are my final thoughts. Thank you guys for joining us here on TYT Community. You can tweet us at #TYT Community, and you can subscribe to our channel at youtube.com/TYT Community. And I just want to ask where we can find our panelists. Ree, where can we find you?
You can always find me at Twitter at Lady Rhiannon 824, my blog at ladyrhiannon824.blogspot.com, my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Lady Rhiannon 824 and facebook.com/Lady Rhiannon 824.
Sean, where can we find you, sir?
Just so I could point out, BP won that award before their oil spill too. But you can find me at youtube.com/IamSean90 or twitter.com @IamSean90, and I don't know. That's the kiss of death. That award.
Where can we find you, man?
Brian?
Huh?
Where can
Oh,
we find
sorry.
you, Brian?
Sleeping? Where can you find me? Hey, if you want to find me, the easiest place, YouTube, Piratefish1, and anywhere else you can follow me, you can find it there.
All right, and I want to thank my panel for joining us tonight, and I want to thank you guys for watching. Once again, like and subscribe us on YouTube, and check out our channel. And if you guys want to be on the show, email us at tytcommunityshow@gmail.com. Thank you much, and we will see you next week.